Hey, what's up, guys? I want to make this video very specific. I want to talk about the cell phone repair industry, which is the industry that I'm in. I have a cell phone repair shop that I own and I operate. And I want to talk about some of the struggles that I go through in trying to grow my business and really my ultimate goal is to build a business that is an asset that pays me. And so there's a lot of things that you have to do that a lot of other repair shops don't take the leap in doing. So I want to talk about some of those things, and hopefully some of you guys are in the same spot as I am, and you guys can kind of like get a different perspective, or if you know, maybe it's a new perspective that I can give some people. That would be, just worth making a video as well. So I ultimately am trying to build a cell phone repair shop that is the best in town. I'm not trying to be, just another repair shop. I'm really trying to figure out a way to differentiate myself from everybody else. And at the end of the day, like, all I'm doing is fixing phones, and so that can be very, very difficult, right? How do you differentiate yourself when you can sometimes be doing things that are like average, right? Like everybody can fix phones, everybody can do that. So what makes what's gonna make me special? What's gonna make me stand out? And I have to figure that specifically for myself, how that's gonna work in my business, in my cell phone repair shop, and in my local market, and with my specific competition. And every business, every cell phone repair shop or any other business is going to have its own individual challenge. They're gonna have to figure out who their competitors are, who's doing a good job at marketing, who doesn't do a good job of marketing, who has terrible customer service, and you really do have to keep your ears open and kind of see what other shops are doing in your area, what they're charging, right? Obviously, you want to figure out what the market rate for your services are, um, so that you're not underpricing or overpricing. And if you see that your competition is doing really good marketing, then that really does mean that you need to step your game up. And so one of the things that the topic that I'm going to cover today is on employees, and it's a topic that I'm also fairly new to. I've been in business for about 8 months. This business for about 8 months, and I've had an employee now for about 5 6 months now, and now I'm actually starting to train um, three more people how to fix phones so that eventually they can come in and help me out and start working. And so that alone has been a challenge. The very first thing is there's a lot of cell phone repair shops out there that it's like a one man team and a one man shop, and that's great if you are the type of person that can't deal with people, then a lot of times that's the way you have to go, where it's just you, and you can make really good money and you can do really really well just being a one person shop. But if you are trying to build a business that lets you um, that pays you when you walk away, if you want to build a business that um, has an impact not just for the customers that you're repairing phones to, but it also has an impact on the people you're employing, and you're providing jobs, and you're overall boosting the economy. And so I'm a big believer that if you're gonna start a cell phone repair shop, you should hire and start building a team as soon as possible, right? As soon as you can afford it, like month two, basically, because that's really the way that you're going to be able to grow. It's gonna allow you to focus on your business and not always be focused inside your business. A lot of these one man shops, they have so much work, and they're making money and they're making it happen, but um, that's they're working inside their business 24/7, and they never go and work on their business and try to grow and grow. And what I mean by growth is not obviously they can still see you know 3 to 10% growth year over year. Like that's obviously that's going to happen, but I'm talking about having exponential growth. The business that I'm trying to build, I'm trying to build an empire, and I need to have exponential growth. Like if I'm having 10% growth year over year, I mean that's awesome, but it's not gonna get me to the level where I want to be. And so um, without building a team and without employees, it's gonna be really really hard to be able to have that exponential growth, right? And so you really have to either, if you're not a people person, then you need to partner with someone who is, and that can build a team for you, or you really have to figure out, well, why am I not a people person? Like, who told me I'm not a people person? Why do I believe I'm not a people person? And can I change that, right? Can I become a people person? Um, I mean, maybe like unless you're like you've been like nobody can ever work with you and you've known that for the past 25 years that you can't work with anybody, um then you gotta just be your one man shop and really try to excel in that. But just know that if you're trying to have multiple locations, if you're trying to um, expand, if you're trying to take a vacation and not have to close your business while you're out, then you have to build a team. Okay, so and that's what I'm trying to do right now, and that's like my challenge right now, and I think it's really interesting, um, me making this video right now. And I think it's one of the reasons I want to make it, because like I'm in the process of building a team. I'm in the process of actually training um, two people at the same time, and then eventually bringing another person. And so, like, I have to change my mentality from I'm a technician to I am a team builder, and I have to build a team. I have to make sure that the people that I hire are good people. And I'm gonna go over like some of the things, some of the strategies that I've been using to really figure out if these people are worth my time and energy investing into training them. And how to build rapport between each other, between everybody on the team. And so it's something that I'm learning and I'm going through the process. And I want to make this video to share some of the things that I've been going through, and things that have worked for me, things that haven't worked for me, and things that I'm currently trying to see if they work or not. And so I think if you guys are like about to go from like a one man shop to like multiple people, or you're opening a location and you know that you want to grow quickly and you don't want to like stay stagnant for a while, and make sure your repair business actually works before you hire people. um, if you want to hire people right away and start growing, um, you know listen on what I've got to say about hiring an employee, and maybe it's useful for you. So um, the very first one is, it's really a mindset when you're hiring. Is the biggest reason why people don't go out and hire employees is because it's a risk. Especially, you don't know who they are, you don't know how much training they've had. If they haven't had any training, well, have you taught them good enough? Do they actually know what they're doing? Because they can really do a lot of damage and cost you a lot of money, right? I know, like the Galaxy S8 or the Note 8, or even ripping the home button on an iPhone 7, will cost you some money. And so, um, it's definitely a risk that you're taking by bringing on another person, because you also lose control. So there's a loss of control that you get, that you don't get control over that specific repair, and you don't get to control whether it gets repaired right or not. And that can be really scary, and it can be really hard to get over that. And to me, the way I've started to see it, and my mentality is, I see it the the people that I'm bringing onto my team. They're not a liability. They can be a liability, but they're not a liability. They are an asset, and they are, you know, a valuable part of my success. And so if you see these future technicians, future employees as assets, as individuals that will help your life get easier and not harder, then it becomes less of a burden, because they're going to be there to help you. No big business is on their own. Like, if you can tell me a business that is making over $1 million that don't have a team, uh, like, let me know how they're doing it, because most all businesses cannot operate on their own, especially if they are trying to build a big business. So there's a fear in hiring employees, because it can be really scary. There's a lot of unknown, and it's really about how you select the people that minimize and decrease that risk in who you hire. And so, kind of want to go over like some of the things that I've been doing on the like in the interview process, some of the questions that I like to ask, and it's really just about observing how they respond to different things. Are do they show up on time? Do they follow up? Like, is this someone that you can see yourself working with? The biggest thing, like, this is the biggest thing that I look for in somebody that I'm looking to bring onto my team, is the biggest thing that I look for is, are they passionate? Are they passionate about something? So, somewhere in the middle of the interview, I'll throw in the question, what are you passionate about? And their answer really tells a lot about who they are. And so, really pay attention to how they answer the question, whether they have something that they right away go to. And usually, I have found that people that are really passionate about something tend to be really good employees, because they care about something very deeply, and they've you know uh, the people that care about things very deeply tend to be a lot more honest, and um, you know a lot more easier to work with, when you find individuals that are just passionate, because they're not always just driven by the paycheck. And so, I want to find people that are passionate about something, anything. They could be passionate about swimming, they could be passionate about a sport, they could be passionate about, dogs. Like, it doesn't matter. But if they say they're passionate about X, and when they speak about X, they speak of it, very excited, and very, like, there's a lot of emotion behind their words, then it really shows that they have a deeper meaning to their life than just chasing a paycheck. So that would be one of the questions that I would ask during an interview. Another question that I would ask, and these are the people that I'm interviewing, are people that have no experience with cell phone repair. They've never fixed a phone before, and so, I'm trying to figure out if they would be the type of candidate that would, look at a phone and having some intuitive understanding of how a phone works. And so, if they have intuitive understanding of how a phone operates, they kind of understand, like, some of the terminology, some of the slang that we use in our industry, they can understand it. That's also usually a good sign, because it just shows that they're gonna pick up the skill really quickly. You don't want to find someone who, like, doesn't know a lot about, like, technology, because they're going to struggle a lot more to learn, versus someone who's a bit more, like, nerdy, or really into computers. They will pick up some of these things really, really quickly, because they have an intuitive understanding. They've grown up with the technology, and so it's really easy to just go in and show them how to take it apart, put it back together. um, and those people, you can teach them really, really quickly. So another little, like, curveball that I'll throw during an interview. Um, so actually, this is something that I'll do before the interview, so that I can ask it during the interview. What I'll say is, I'll say something like, hey, like, make sure you bring a resume to the interview. And one of the other things that I want you to do is go through our website and go through all of our, just do research on the business, figure out as much as you can about the business, and then I let them see what they come back with, right? If they actually did some research on the business, um, if they actually cared to even go through your website, and sometimes you can even ask them a bit more not super specific because they're not gonna get it, but you can ask them like, how many locations do we have, or you know, how do you feel about our, like, how do you feel about our social media presence, anything like that. That way you can see if they actually cared and they actually took the time to do research and find out more about your business. And that really shows a lot about that person's character just from the get, because they it tells you whether they're going to be dedicated to even train or to even be an employee to you. And so that's one of the things that I like to do, to see if they are actually really interested in the position and in this job and working inside of this business, and not chasing a paycheck. If I feel that this person is literally just in it for the money, they're just in it to get a job and get paid, like those are the people that I do not want working on in my business, because those people will eventually get frustrated, get upset. They will have bad days, and those days, if they're not passionate, if they don't have a focus, if they don't really care, they're not gonna. It's not gonna be important to them, and that's why you have a lot of like, just bad employees, because they weren't in it to begin with, from the get go. And so, um, that's the other thing that I like to look for. So I also want to share some advice that I got from a mentor that I thought was really really like cool feedback. And he said, whenever you're hiring an employee, what you need to do is look at the resume and see how long they were at each job. Obviously this doesn't apply to like, 21-year-old, or someone who's just starting their professional career. This would apply to someone that's like maybe over 25, that's had enough time to have held jobs. And one of the things he said is like, look at the resume and see, if this person has gone from like part-time job for a few months, then like a full-time job for like 6 months, and then they had another part-time job for 4 months, and then they had another job. Um, if they kind of have that sort of resume, you know, that's not the person you want. If they have that, if they've been bouncing around different jobs, having different jobs, those are the people you don't want to hire, because there's a reason they've been hopping around different jobs. Maybe it wasn't always their fault, but um, there was something in their character and their behavior that made them move on to another job and move on to another job and move on to another job, and um, that's just an early sign of someone who's probably not going to stay around for 6 months, right? Just look at the pattern and see that they've been at a job for 6 months, another job for 6 months, and like chances are they're going to be at your job for 6 months. And so that's one thing to like, that you can look in their resume and see if they fit those characteristics. And if they're the kind of person they were at a job for 3 years and then they moved to another job for 3 years, those are the kind of people you do want to hire, because those are people that you can see that can hold a job and that can stay around long enough, and then build that trust with other employers. So I just want to share that because I thought that was like really cool feedback. I remember like just sitting down with him and he was like telling me all this, and I was just like, shoot, like that's super true. So that's just one of the other things that you could do to filter through your applications. I think it's a pretty cool little trick, and it's definitely something that I've been applying. When I go through resumes and I look and see, and I look at their history and their experience, and also another thing is also follow up and actually call their references and figure out what kind of like employee they were, the good, the bad, and figure out if that's something you're willing to work with. Because a lot of employers actually don't even take the time to follow up and actually call some of the references. So, actually, go through and double check the references and make sure that you're actually bringing a solid person on your team and not just someone who's going to take your energy and your time. The last thing you want to look for in an interview is the person good at customer service. That is by far the most important trait in a person that I look for. Is the person good at customer service? Like that's the number one thing that if they do not have it, and if I don't feel like I could teach it, because a lot of times if the person's just like very introverted or very shy, it's even harder to teach the person how to be really social and provide really good customer service. If they're like that, if I feel like I can't teach them, then I can't hire them because in my business, and I know if I'm going to be successful, and the reason that I have been successful, the reason that I've like doubled my business almost month over month is because of my customer service. Like I'm just really good at it, and anybody who I bring onto my team has to bring that same level of energy, that same level of excitement of helping customers. And so if I feel like they don't have any like social skills to be able to interact with customers, to be able to handle angry customers, to be able to handle these frustrating situations, then I don't want to bring them on because I need someone who can actually deal with customers, who can actually give customers a good experience so that they continue to come back. I don't want just somebody to sit behind the desk, fix phones all day, never even pick their head up and just work. That's not who I want. The person that I want is someone who has a technical, some sort of like intuitive understanding of technical skills, and someone who's has a solid understanding of customer service. Someone who has excitement, someone who's a bit more social, someone who's willing to interact on a more deeper level with customers. That is why I've been growing as fast as I'm growing, and as I build a team, they have to bring that same level of energy, or it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. And so, that's probably that's probably the most important thing when you're hiring a technician is that person social? Is that person capable of providing a solid customer service experience? And if you feel that they might not be there yet, but you can show them and you can say like, look, if you're on the phone, make sure you smile, smile. And if they are like, but if they're like, okay, I kind of see what you're saying, let me try it out, like, that's great because then that person will absorb all the stuff you're teaching them. Those people that are like, I don't want to do that, those are the people that you don't want to work with. Okay, so now the next thing is I want to talk about actually training employees and how to take them from not knowing anything about cell phone repair to being proficient enough so that they be technicians. And it's something that I'm currently going through the process of. So I can't even really give the best advice because I'm literally in the process. Like I had a guy this morning come in and do training, and I'll have a guy next week come in and do more training. And so I'm in the trenches, so to say, with training employees. And so I just want to share what I've been doing and kind of like my plan as they continue to get more advanced. So the very first thing is obviously you need to pay your employees to come in and train, and that's earlier I was talking about just the mindset and seeing your employees as assets, and so this is another one of those things where you have to see your employees as assets, and you have to pay them for them to come in and train because they are assets, and you are putting money and energy into that person so that they can be an asset. And so, you know, when I trained, I actually didn't get paid and I worked for free, but it was it was within the understanding that I wasn't going to work at the shop, and that I was working there for free to get trained for free. And so in my situation, it was a bit different. But if this person's going to come on and to work, then you need to pay that person, even if it's just minimum wage. They need to get paid for their time to come in, and it's really going to change your relationship with that person, because if you're paying that person, they don't feel like they're wasting their time. They feel like you're taking them seriously. So if you take them seriously, they'll the chances of them taking you seriously is much higher. And so, make sure you pay your employees, pay your trainees, even if it's just minimum wage to come in and train. Make sure you pay them for their time, because you also have to understand that their time is valuable and their time is important, and they are here to learn and to obviously make money, but at the same time they're going to make you money. And so, you have to be willing to invest time into that person. And like, even if you do the math, I did the math, and it's going to cost me about $1,000 um, to get them trained. But to me, it's like, okay, it's $1,000, but they will produce $1,000, and they will you know pay they will essentially pay for themselves. And so, once you see it that way, then it's much easier to understand why it is that you're paying them. So, that's the first thing, is make sure you pay them. The second thing is have a schedule and treat them like normal employees, and start like start to really put them through the culture, right? To really um, make like show them that your business has a culture, and that, right, like, show up on time, communicate very well, dress professionally, even if you're not going to be talking to customers. When you show up to the office, dress professionally, um, and that way they start to understand that you have rules in your business, and that there's expectations to be met, right? And that's another thing, is that you have to set expectations for your employees, and you have to set goals for them, and you have to have some sort of path that they can look at, and they can feel like they're being guided. And it's one of the things that I'm really trying to implement more and more, and I'm really putting a lot of thought into it, because it's really important, and having a path for them to where they feel like they're here, and you're going to help lead them to point B. And so, have some sort of system, some sort of plan of action that they're aware of, that can help them go from not knowing anything to being a technician. So, the process that I take my trainees through to try to get them um, on the level of being a technician is, I start them off with, like, iPhone 5 screen repair, and just master the iPhone 5 first, and then once they've mastered the iPhone 5, I'll take them to the iPhone 6, and then the iPhone 6 Plus, and then the iPhone 7. And then, while we're within each model, we're working on, removing the motherboard, removing the charging port, um, removing the cameras, uh, you know, lock button, flex, all the flex cables, make sure they understand how, ultimately what I want them to understand is how the phone is built. Because if they can understand the iPhone 5 really, really well, when they pick up the iPhone 6, it's like, this isn't too much different. And then they pick up the iPhone 7, they're like, oh, this is not much different as the iPhone 6. There's just a few more changes. And then, when they get to the iPhone 8, it's like, this is the exact same thing. And then same thing with Samsung's, right? Like, once they actually, like, more than anything, like, for example, sometimes I'll even say, like, like, just look at, like, just sit here for 5 minutes and stare at how this flex cable bends and how it functions. Like, just look at it, make sure you have an understanding in your head, and you can wrap your mind around how it works, how it connects. Make sure you understand um, how it's all put together, and then we don't move on until I feel like they have a good handle on that model. Then we'll move on to the next model. And in the process, I'll show them, hey, look, this is the difference between these cables. This is the difference between an iPhone 5G battery and an iPhone 5C 5S battery. This is the difference between an iPhone 6 battery and iPhone 6S battery. Start showing them the little differences within every device on how to identify the different parts, how to identify damage, how to identify whether a part's OEM, whether it's aftermarket, different things like that. How to do troubleshooting. And as I'm doing that, they're here while I'm running the shop. And one of the things I tell them is like, just watch how I interact with customers. Watch how I answer the phone, and really pay attention to that as you're doing the repair. As you're doing as you're practicing, and you see someone come in, and you see like kind of stop what you're doing, and just watch and listen on how I communicate with the customer, and how I handle them, and um, how I'm able to just provide that customer experience. And that's what I've been doing. Ultimately, um, within the first couple weeks, you should already start seeing like, okay, this person actually really cares. He's been showing up on time. He's picking up the skill really quickly. He's following up. He's replying. He's is he the kind of person you want to keep around? And within the first 2 weeks, if you feel like, nah, like this person, I have a bad feeling about it. If you have a bad feeling, then you need to go with your gut, and you need to just let that person go, and don't be afraid of letting the person go. Um, After feeling like, I've already invested so much. Don't see it that way, um, and don't be afraid to start over with another person. Don't be afraid to interview more people. Don't be afraid to, you know, train more people. Don't be afraid to train more than one person at a time, because it might not work with one. Don't put all your baskets into one person. Don't put a lot of weight, or depend so much on one employee, because that can be really dangerous. If that employee decides to leave, or something in their life makes them um, have to quit, then um, you can't, you know, slow down your business. You can't be reliant on one person, and so if you're training 2 to 3 people, it's a bit more work, but you're definitely um, taking a much safer risk, because if it doesn't work with one, it'll work with another person. Okay, cool. That was a holy shit. That was a long ass video. I apologize, but I hope that I gave some value in that video, and that I explained um, just the process of bringing employees on your team, and not being afraid to hire employees early on. I mean, as soon as you can afford it. As soon as you can afford an employee, you should hire one, and start taking them through that process. And once you take 1 or 2 people through that process, it'll be easier to take more people through it. So don't be overwhelmed. This is definitely an exciting part of business. Being able to bring on an employee, it's a risk that you have to be okay with taking, and it will pay off in the end, if you just pick the right person, and if you really pay attention to who it is you're hiring, and you try to look deeper into that person than just their interview, right? You try to throw them some curveballs, challenge them, and see how they react to it. So awesome, guys. Today's February 14th, so I want to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I hope you guys have an awesome day, awesome weekend, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out.